Greetings, geeks, and welcome to a new video series here on Wizards, the podcast guide to comics. I'm Adam.
And I'm Mike.
This is something that we're calling Wizards Wednesday Rewind. We're going back to Wednesday's new releases and giving you our thoughts on the new comic books that are coming out. Now, we're a 90s retro comic book review podcast where we go back in time. We're not generally focusing on new comics, but Mike Schwartz here, he loves new comics. He's trying to convince me that there are good comics still coming out, that it wasn't all 30 years ago. I'm a little skeptical. We'll see how it comes together. But Mike, why so important to you that I read something new?
Because I'm writing a new comic, Adam. You have to support new comics. We need the industry to stay relevant. No one, if no new comics are coming out, who will be the next generation to create a podcast that looks back at the comics of the 2020s?
Very, very important. So, that being the case, Mike, recently on our Wizards Half episodes, where we kind of get into all sorts of different areas of the magazine, Mike introduced me to Ultimate Spider-Man. Okay, this new Ultimate Universe, which has been launched, and we did a review there. You can go check that out on our podcast feed at wizardscomics.com or any of your favorite podcast apps. But it kind of got me jazzed, a little excited, right? That's old man
Yeah.
talk there. Yeah, I'm so jazzed about these new comics you got coming out. But so I was just like, okay, maybe there is something for me here. And Mike said, well, there's this new event. It's called Blood Hunt.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, you're an avid horror fan. How did Blood Hunt come to your attention? Why did you feel like we needed to read this one?
Okay. Well, first of all, I felt like we need you to start reading new comics. That was my first goal. Second goal was what comics to pick if this is the first week, and I realized this is a big week. There was actually a lot of stuff, and we're going to try to stick to two. Maybe we'll expand to more comics, right, over time. We're not sure yet, but we're going to do two, and we're going to open it up to our listeners to also decide what we review in the future. But to start, I chose the two that interested me the most, and they were both Marvel comics. I probably should have chose some DC stuff, but the interesting DC stuff was Free Comic Book Day, so maybe we'll do reviews of that. But Blood Hunt, I have been talking about this. I'm friends with some other podcasters, and Blood Hunt, I don't love Marvel events. I don't think they work. They try to tie in like 30 different comics, and they all have the headline, and you're like, do I need to read this? And so Blood Hunt was one that was kind of on my radar for the past few months, and I was like, I think this is the one that Adam needs to read too, because Marvel did Maximum Carnage and the Clone
Marvel
Saga,
Zombies? Yeah.
Marvel Zombies, and I'm a horror fan. I was like, we got to do this one. I didn't even realize there was like a mature
Yeah, that
version.
was the biggest surprise for me when I went there because at first I saw an issue that was not polybagged, and then I saw some polybags sticking up behind those, and I'm like, wait, what is this? And I pull it out and it says, what? It says here, warning, this comic book is only approved for appropriate audiences, explicit content. I was like, Marvel, what are you doing? Marvel Max is over. I didn't think this was a thing anymore. And so that really caught my attention. Plus just the polybag. We come from the 90s when polybags like gave you a card. They did something special. This is just a notification. This is just a warning. And so as I start reading through, I'm like, okay, what am I going to see? Is it gore? Is it going to be language? Like, what is Marvel doing? Because, Deadpool and Wolverine's coming out, their first rated R movie that they're putting out with Marvel characters. So maybe this is a whole new era. And I read it, and, I mentioned Marvel Zombies. That's what it reminded me of. I was just like, okay, this is an interesting premise wherein there are these users of this like dark, like
Dark
dimension
Force.
energy. What's it called?
The Dark Force users. So
Yeah.
it's people like Cloak of Cloak and Dagger, Dark Star, Dusk, but and they've become like clouds of blackness.
Yeah, like they turn into portals. Essentially, they've been activated by some other dimensional vampiric force or something to then like blot out the sun, cover the earth in darkness, so that vampires can rule and reign and invade and destroy everybody.
Yes. Now I should mention I was not able to get the poly my local the I didn't get the polybag version. I got just the regular version because my shop didn't even get it, or maybe they did and I was just too late to pick it up. Um, so you're gonna have to tell me if like what I didn't see much go like there is moments. This will be a spoiler discussion for anyone watching that doesn't want to be spoiled. Come back after you've read it. But like Adam said, these people of these Dark Force users have become clouds and they've blotted out the sun, and now this group called the Coven has I don't know if they're new. I think the group might be
In
new,
the
but
back of the book, at least this one here, it does
yeah.
show sketches that they were created by the artist. So yeah, it does look like they're mostly new characters in this group.
Yes, yeah, I didn't even read the back to be honest. I just finished it and went on to our other book. Um, but then so that's kind of revealed that they're kind of behind it, but we don't know who their leader is. So that's the big mystery is who's the leader of the Blood Coven and why are they blocking out the sun? It's so that vampires can take over the earth, I guess.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
keep having these panels that say like sun death at this time,
Yeah.
sun death at
Calgary. They pinpoint Calgary as one spot where it's
yep.
happening.
So the Canadians are represented here, but then the idea is that the Avengers, of course, or some assemblage of heroes, get together and they're trying to figure out what's happening and they're trying to fight it. You have Sam Wilson, Captain America, and all these people, and they're not, it doesn't go well for them because yes, they confront the Blood Coven, right? And they're
Yeah.
thinking like, oh, well, it's just another group of interdimensional baddies. We fight these guys all the time, big deal. But they have powers that can like actually cut the skin of a god with Thor, for example. He's like, you cut me, and so now and Thor might be dead after this battle. We don't know. It looks like he got destroyed. Like, I don't know if you saw that in your issue, Mike, but he got a spike through the eye. Was that in your?
Now I have to. I don't. I wish I brought it down. It's still upstairs next to my bed.
Oh,
I don't recall that. That's
yeah.
weird.
This is what I'm saying. Like this mature one, I think they added more violence and more gore, and he gets stabbed through the eye, and it's a big panel. Look right
See,
here, like right there, and you're like,
oh,
whoa,
maybe that is. Maybe that
yeah,
is. It's honestly eh, so that's for me. I want to hear your opinion on it, but for me,
yeah,
this whole book hinges on the ending, and it makes me
yeah.
want to continue reading. So I want to know, what do you think of the comic? As you know, you're not familiar with new comics at all. What do you think of the comic? Um, without talking about the ending yet, because I think the ending is what will make most readers want to continue reading. But what did you think of just the comic itself before that?
I thought the comic is interesting. The art style, again, it's very new comics. It's
Mhm.
very Marvel's house style, I guess is what I would call it. It just feels kind of like, I don't know. It's not trying to be realistic, but it's very moody, but it's also very sketchy feeling.
Jagged,
Jagged,
jagged. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's you're
It's
seeing that at DC as well. Like a lot. It's very like squared off. And
yeah.
yeah.
So that's just the look of now. Okay. I thought the premise was good. Like this whole, okay, we have an
Mm.
existing group of Dark Force users. Hey, let's do something interesting with that. That was a cool setup. I also do not like big world ending events. We've seen enough of it. I'm not really a team book guy either. I always like solo adventures. So like this whole idea of like, oh, we're the heroes coming together to fight off the evil force and we could do it. But then the twist of, oh, we couldn't do it. Oh,
Yeah.
like we underestimated these guys. That was cool. And yeah, the final twist at the end, I did not see coming. The big reveal. I was just like,
Okay. Let's give it to the. Let's talk about
okay.
the big reveal.
So this is a world of vampires invading, right? And so all throughout this, you have Blade. He's the vampire hunter. Everybody's going to him. They're checking in with him. He talks to Doctor Strange and Clea. They're trying to come up with this spell that would kill all vampires, but they have to have the Darkhold. But apparently, the Darkhold was eaten by the Scarlet Witch, they say. So they're like, how are you going to get the Darkhold? And then at the very end, it's revealed the Blade is like, we got to find out who's behind this. Oh, by the way, it's me. And he slices Doctor Strange, and you're just like, So, like, evil Blade is what we have here, but like literally, he chops Doctor Strange in half.
Oh, can you hold it up? Hold it
Yeah.
up
So
because
this was not in yours.
no, he gets a sword through the back.
Oh, what? So how
It's a
can they have two
completely
different versions
different.
like that? That's crazy.
Okay, I'm gonna have to take a photo and send it to you because that's nuts.
I mean, because that's like dead versus I
Maybe
just got stabbed.
if you could put the images up on the screen for
Yeah.
people, that yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
wild.
so interesting. Again, like the middle portion, not my favorite type of storytelling. Jump into this character, jump into this. Oh, we're figuring this out. We got to figure this out. But I mean, that shocking ending was pretty good.
Yeah, my problem with these events, like my only criticism is I wish they'd just pick a protagonist and
Yes,
just
exactly.
this is the character and there's some side characters and how does this event relate to the character? But they never do that. And I don't that really bothers me because imagine like in Avengers, we see the Avengers movies, they always pick a character. This is, Endgame is Captain America's story and sort of Iron Man's, but more Captain America's. I wish they would do that in comics a bit more. But otherwise, I was really into this. I told a lot of people I was not looking forward to it, and I ended up really enjoying this issue, especially the death at the end.
Yeah.
What ridiculous! But also, if mine didn't have Thor getting impaled, like what's the deal? Are we gonna have two different
That's what I'm
ideas of
saying.
what
Like two
this?
different storyline versions going on. You have the mature reader's story, and otherwise, like that's interesting. But I gotta say, it was fine and it was interesting and it caught my attention. But out of everything, this caught my attention. Helverine. I want Helverine.
Oh, Adam, you're so behind.
This
Actually,
is
that's
old
sold out.
school.
That's a hot comic. It's hard to get. I did not get a copy of it. So, well, actually, issue one is fine. It's his first appearance that's hard to get now.
But that just sounds like, I mean, it's basically what, Ghost Rider Wolverine, but nice idea.
Very
Nice idea.
popular. Very popular. Okay, so we talked about that, and apologies if Thor does get stabbed in the regular edition. I just didn't remember it. It's the ending that got me was the sword through the back. So the second comic I chose for Adam to read was Spider-Woman #7. And the reason I wanted to read this one with him was because there's new characters introduced, and I'm very curious about them. So Adam, do you know about these new characters at all?
Not at all. I saw a
Like
footnote that said they appeared on a screen in some like
in
panel, and that's it.
Timeless, and I have it in a pile here, and I never read that. No, was it in Web of Spider-Man or Timeless? Did it say what it was?
I think it was Web
It
of
says
Spider-Man. I think you're right.
Web of
Yeah.
Spider. Okay, yeah, I have it in a
Yep.
pile here. I'll just. Oh, I think it's sticking right out. Yeah, it's this one.
Oh, okay.
Which I haven't even read yet. Uh, but they also the thing about them is they did a series of variant covers called New Champions variants. And it was each of these characters on a cover, but you're like, who are these characters? When are they coming to comics? So we had no idea. I'm sure they're blowing up in price now. I just that's the way things are, right? Isn't that how it works? So tell us what this issue was about because I haven't been reading the series, but I was like, I've got to figure out who these new
Yeah.
champions are, which they're not called new champions at all.
No, we'll get into what they call themselves.
Okay.
But yes, Spider Woman. So again, Spider Woman has a rich publishing history, but she was originally just created to secure a copyright. It was to say
I
somebody's
did
going
not
to
know
try to
that.
make a Spider Woman, and we want to have Spider Man and Spider Woman. That was Marvel's deal with that. Same with She Hulk. We just need a female Hulk because the Hulk is popular. So speaking of which, this book reads very much to me like the She-Hulk book that launched when the Disney Plus series came out. That was like the last time I bought a new comic. I'm like, just let me see, because I love the John Byrne run. Have they ever captured it again? Well, they didn't. It was okay, it was nice, but it wasn't great. And this story is about Jessica Drew going back to San Francisco, where during a period of her original publishing history, she was like a PI. I think she was a private investigator. Like,
Let me just bring that up. The San Francisco is the writer from San Francisco because there's some weird stuff that happens in San Francisco. The guy that refuses to move away from a trolley. He's about to get hit, but he needs to fix his bike.
yeah.
There's a carton of I don't what is it, coffee, but it has oat milk in it, and a guy screaming, "I'm allergic to oat milk." It really feels like very Portlandia. Some
No, it's
anyways,
very
continue.
much. Like, yeah, they
Yeah.
have the details of San Francisco down in that way, you know. And so I think it's a situation where they're just like, oh, well, like I don't know what was happening in the first 6 issues, but now this is her new setting, new old setting because she lived there
Yeah.
before. She's rediscovering, and it's just Jessica Drew as herself going around. She runs into an old boyfriend who is also her landlord, but now he's married, and she's like, this is awkward. And like the majority of the comic, I'm just like looking at my watch. I'm just
Yeah.
like, this is boring. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's the Marvel thing of, gee, I'm a superhero with all
Yeah.
these powers, but life isn't easy. Life gets awkward, but this is like the boring version of that, even. It's not like there's a bunch of trauma happening. It's just like, I'm just kind of here. Isn't this weird to be back where I used to be? Yeah, it's different. And I'm just like, thanks for nothing. And then
Storytelling 101. Give the character a problem, not that isn't just physical, something emotional. Like
yeah, there's nothing going. There's no, and Jessica Drew has no personality. There's nothing interesting about her. There's nothing. Yeah, she has no quirks whatsoever. Um, but then all of a sudden, this is it Zizix? Is that the name of this character?
Zax. I thought it was
Zax.
Zax.
Yeah, like there's this
Zax.
electrical based character, which I'm sure I've seen in old Marvel comics. He's been
Yeah.
around for a while. She makes mention of the fact that he fought the Hulk at one point, whether that was recently or back in the 80s. I
Yeah.
don't know. And then all of a sudden, this other group of heroes comes in to assist her. And that is this group. They are calling themselves the Assembly. The Assembly, like a high
That's
school assembly where
well,
you get
they're
together.
kids, right? They're
Yeah,
kids, so they're
this I looked at this and I said, "What?" Because on the cover it is Spider Woman and some gal that looks like she's in Captain America armor, but she has the wings of the Wasp, and I'm just like, okay, like we have a mashup character here,
so
and then
that is okay. So let's go through the characters. So
yeah,
you have that. That's Liberty. So she's
she
like
previously
Captain America.
existed.
No, she's new. This is
This is brand new. Okay,
this is all of their first full appearance within a comic, except the screen that they mention in the Web of Spider-Man.
Mhm.
So there's Liberty. Then you have Moon Squire, right? Squire instead of Knight.
The
Okay.
worst.
Cadet Marvel, not a captain
Ah,
yet, just a cadet. This is great, Adam. I can't believe you don't like this.
bad. This is bad.
I love the cheesiness of it. I'm not saying that it's a great like issue, but I loved how ridiculous. Okay, and then Hellrune, which I was like, okay, we have all these kind of cheesy names, and then Hellrune,
It's very
which
90s, but I
it
also
is.
know
It's very nice.
who's she derivative of, because all of these characters are derivative. I'm gonna
I
get into
felt
them.
like Scarlet Witch, maybe
Maybe
was that.
so.
Yeah, and then Titan, who's the Hulk, little like which we've had Hulkling. So I was like, how is
That
this?
is my biggest thing in looking at the splash page where they pop up. I'm like, okay, yes, 20 years ago, we had New Avengers, which is, or
Yeah,
Young Avengers, I mean. We had Young Avengers, which was this. It was this team, basically. Like you had
yeah.
a Hulk, like this Hellroot looks like she's Wiccan, you like just the Liberty character, like all the like I don't know what they're trying to get at here because in addition to being so derivative, like the Moon Squire,
I
like
love it.
that's
Adam,
too much of
stop.
a thinker. You're like, oh, because it was Moon Knight, and so he's Moon Squire because he's younger and he looks just like Moon Knight. Like it's just like there's nothing different about him. And then yeah, Cadet Marvel was the one I was just throwing up. That's the worst. It's just a terrible name. Captain Marvel, no Cadet Marvel. You're not a captain
I
yet. You
know.
know, but so I just, this is why I'm upset because everything for the last 15 years of Marvel is, hey, 20 new spider characters, Gwenpool, here's the Deadpool family. There's all these things. It's just like, okay, character you like. Now here's a million people that sort of look like them. There's a little tweak, little tweak, little tweak. Whereas in the 90s, you were getting new characters, like 10 new characters every week. There was a new comic coming out and there were dozens of just new adventures being put in your face. Now it's just all like, well, I've seen this type of character before and you only want me to buy it because I kind of like that other character. And this makes me throw up. Like what
So
if these
Adam.
characters become a big deal, I will happily sell this comic because I don't need it. I do not need it.
Oh my God, listen to the anger, everyone.
It upset me so much when I
Oh
read
my God, I shouldn't have chosen this one then. I thought it would be fun. It felt like it could be a nut. Anyways, are you familiar with Spider Boy?
No, I've heard of it, but I've not read it,
Okay,
obviously.
so you know there's a new character called Spider Boy. Okay, so it's a very similar thing where he's just like a little kid version of Spider-Man, but Spider Boy from another dimension or time. Or I haven't really been following up, but it's kind of fun. I've been kind of enjoying his series, and I'm just you know, his first appearance was nothing. It was like this, where you're like, I'm getting nothing from this Spider Boy. Why is he here? But I like that there was a bit of mystery with Spider Boy. These characters, they don't even introduce like a mystery. They're just like, we're here, we're on the scene. You know what it reminds me of? They did this maybe 2 to 3 years ago, where they introduced a new X team, and it was these young kids, and they all look like there was a girl that looked like Gambit. There was a boy that also looked like Cyclops. I forget what it's called, but it was so forgettable, and they did nothing with it. And I worry that that's what's going to happen with the assembly.
Well,
That would, yeah.
how can they stand out? Like they're slightly different designs, but you definitely know where they came from. Versus like again in the 90s, Generation X, you got all new characters on this team. It's like Jubilee, who we know, and then here's all these cool new
Yeah.
characters, you know? Like it felt like you can create a new team. Runaways, was kind of concurrent with that Young Avengers thing, and they were all new, interesting characters. Just the derivative nature, just like I'm morally opposed to it now because it's so overdone. I'm not saying you can't write a good story with a Spider Boy, but we've had so many such a oversaturation for so long. Again, like in the past, like okay, Spider-Man 2099, oh, it's a new Spider-Man, but he's a totally new character in a totally new setting. These are I've seen it before already, and then plus the fact that I'm just like, you don't have your own personality, so why do I care about you?
Yeah, well, I don't think you can. There's not enough time. We don't even care about Spider-Woman in this issue. So,
No,
but we haven't read the previous one, so we can't judge completely.
yeah,
It's not a good place to start, I guess, as a new reader like us. So, okay, let's try to give review. Let's give a rating now. Let's wrap this up with a rating. What would you give Blood Hunt out of 10?
Bloodhead out of 10, I would give it a solid 8 because it didn't appeal to me like 100%, but I really respected the narrative choices that they put in there. Like there was shock value to it, but I thought there was a decent mystery set up, and I thought that the way that they took little clever bits of Marvel history and continuity and used it, I was all in favor of. So definitely I would give that an 8.
I would give it an 8 as well. So totally. And so, what about Spider-Woman 7?
Can't even earn a 7 from me. This one gets a 4. This
Oh, wow.
because
Okay.
it's semi-competent storytelling. It's just boring. Nothing happens. And then when something happens, it's so out of nowhere and just like, this is the comic you want to keep because it's a collectible first appearance of these characters, but they're not original. So anyway, there you go. Like it gave me nothing, and it gave me anger because it gave me nothing. So that's why I give it a 4.
I give it a 6.6. I just give it a 6. I give it a 6. I don't think there's enough to the issue besides the introduction to really warrant a higher grade. But you know what? I can't wait for Moon Squire issue 1. So that's it.
Here's what I'll say. I'm acting like I'm angry, and the things upset me. It's nice to feel again. It's
Yeah.
nice to leave the comfort of the 90s comics I know and read something new and be disappointed. That's
Yeah,
okay. I took a
exactly.
chance. It's fun to take a chance sometimes.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think we should leave it up to I'll pick out 4 that I think would be cool to read, and let's let the listeners choose the next week's. How about?
Absolutely. So go on over. You can find us on social media at Wizards Comics. If you can join us over on X, if you're still over there, there's some other platforms where you could do surveys. We'll put those up, and we'll make sure that you get a chance to vote and you tell us what you think we should be covering next time around, next Wednesday. Buying new comics again. I'm not used to it. My local comic book shop's gonna be like, "You're in here again? You only come in like every 3 or 4 months." I'm like, "Yeah, well, got a new mission."
You
So
can
we'll
thank
see.
this guy.
But anyway, thanks so much for checking out our reviews. We hope you enjoyed it. And hey, until next time, keep your books bagged and boarded.